The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that caught the light of distant stars. Inside, the Galactic Council met to decide the fate of worlds. Today they would make a decision that would change everything, though they did not know it yet. Ambassador Jiwan sat in the human section, her hands folded calmly on the smooth table before her. She had represented Earth for 12 years now, and she knew the mood of this council well. Behind her stood Captain Minho in his dark uniform, his face carefully neutral. To her left sat Dr. He-jin, who had been reviewing data files until the session began. All three humans wore the simple gray and blue uniforms of Earth's diplomatic service. Around the circular chamber sat representatives of 23 species. The Vrax matriarch occupied a large platform, her insect body gleaming under the lights. Her compound eyes reflected colors that human eyes could barely see. Next to her, the Lumith ambassador stood like a living crystal, light passing through his transparent body in strange patterns. The Thalorn representative floated in a tank of treated water, his tentacles moving slowly as he breathed. These were the elder species, the ones who had built the council 3,000 years ago. They had explored the galaxy before humans even discovered fire. They had created laws and treaties when Earth was still a world of scattered tribes, and they never let anyone forget it. The session began with routine matters: trade agreements, border disputes, research funding. Jiwan listened carefully, occasionally making notes on her tablet. The humans said little during these discussions. They had learned over the years that the council preferred it that way. Then came Resolution 447. The Vrax matriarch raised one of her sharp limbs, and the chamber fell silent. Her voice clicked and buzzed, translated instantly by the chamber systems into every language present. "We bring forth a matter of great importance," she began. "For 300 years, humanity has been part of this council. In that time, they have grown rapidly. Too rapidly, some might say." Jiwan felt Minho shift slightly behind her, but she kept her expression calm. "Humanity expands into space without proper consideration," the matriarch continued. "They establish colonies on worlds we have deemed unsuitable. They deploy military forces without consulting proper channels. They act as if the rules that govern the rest of us do not apply to them." The Lumith ambassador's voice chimed like bells. "We have observed this pattern with concern. Humanity seems unwilling to follow the established protocols that have maintained galactic peace for millennia." Jiwan raised her hand, asking for permission to speak. The matriarch's antennae twitched, but she granted it. "Matriarch, with respect, humanity has followed every protocol required of us," Jiwan said, her voice steady. "Every colony we have established was registered properly. Every military deployment was reported. We have paid our council dues in full and on time. We have answered every call for assistance." "You misunderstand the concern, Ambassador," the Thalorn representative said, his voice bubbling through his tank's speakers. "It is not about following written rules. It is about understanding your place in the natural order. Some species are meant to lead. Others are meant to learn." Dr. He-jin's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The matriarch continued. "Therefore, we propose Resolution 4I-47. Humanity will retain basic membership in the Council, but voting rights on military matters will be suspended. Additionally, human colonies will face increased resource quotas to support Council operations. These measures will remain in effect until humanity demonstrates proper maturity." The vote came quickly. 18 species voted in favor. 3 abstained. Only 2 voted against, both younger species who relied heavily on human trade. Jiwan stood slowly. Captain Minho and Dr. He-jin rose with her. The chamber grew quiet, waiting for the human response. Some expected anger. Others perhaps expected pleading. The elder species had seen both from younger races before. "We understand the Council's decision," Jiwan said simply. "Humanity will comply with Resolution 447. She bowed, a gesture of respect from her culture. Then she walked toward the exit, her colleagues following. No shouting. No threats. No dramatic promises of revenge. The Vrax matriarch clicked her mandibles in satisfaction. Finally, they learned their place. The Lumith ambassador chimed in agreement. Perhaps in a few centuries they will be ready to participate fully again. What none of them noticed was the look that passed between the 3 humans as they left. It was not anger exactly. It was something else. Something like resignation mixed with a cold kind of certainty. The door sealed behind them and they walked through the outer corridors of the station in silence. Only when they reached their private shuttle did Captain Minho speak. "So they finally did it," he said quietly. "Yes," Ji-won replied. "I expected it last year, honestly. They have been building toward this for a while." Dr. Heejin looked out the window at the council station growing smaller as they departed. 300 years of partnership. 300 years of humans maintaining their stations, protecting their borders, solving their problems. And this is how they show gratitude. "They do not see it as something requiring gratitude," Ji-won said. "To them, we were doing what was expected. What younger species should do for their elders." Minho activated the shuttle's communication system, opening a secure channel to Earth. "Should I begin the recall procedures?" Ji-won was quiet for a long moment, looking at the stars outside the window. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, begin the recall. All humans in council space. Military, civilian, research, medical, everyone. We are going home." "They will complain," Heejin said. "Let them," Ji-won replied. "We have followed their rules for 3 centuries. We have done everything they asked and more. If they want to treat us like children who do not know our place, then perhaps it is time they learned what we were actually doing for them." "When should we start?" Minho asked, immediately, but quietly. No announcements. No explanations. We simply leave. Every contract terminated legally and properly. Every agreement ended according to its own terms. We will follow their rules one last time. The shuttle jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the council station behind. Inside, the council members were already moving on to other business, satisfied that they had put humanity in its proper place. They did not know that they had just made the biggest mistake in the history of the Galactic Council. They did not know that within months their entire civilization would begin to crumble. They did not know that the quiet, hard-working humans they had dismissed were the only thing holding their ancient empire together. But they would learn. Soon enough, they would all learn. The first sign came 3 weeks after Resolution 447 passed. A Vrax trading station near the border world sent an urgent message to the council. The human merchants who had been coming every week for 20 years had stopped arriving. Their regular delivery of processed metals and electronic components simply did not show up. The station master was annoyed, but not worried. Humans could be emotional, he thought. They would return when they realized they needed the trade credits, but they did not return. And it was not just one station. Across council space, human merchant vessels began turning back toward Earth territory. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades suddenly went dark. Markets that relied on human goods found their shelves empty. Councillor Varric of the Lumith noticed the pattern during his weekly review. His crystalline form flickered with concern as he studied the reports. Still, he told himself this was temporary. Humanity was just making a point. They would be back. On Station Kepler 7, things were more serious. Engineer Doyen had maintained the fusion reactors there for 8 years. He knew every pipe, every valve, every control system. The reactors were old, built by the Lumith centuries ago, and they required constant attention. Doyen had learned to predict problems before they happened. He had created dozens of small fixes that kept everything running smoothly. When he received the recall order from Earth, he spent 3 days writing detailed reports about each reactor. He documented every modification he had made, every unofficial repair, every workaround for problems the original designers had never anticipated. He sent these reports to the station commander and trained the Lumith engineers as best he could in the time he had. The station commander accepted his resignation with barely concealed irritation. "You are contractually obligated to provide 2 months' notice," he said. Doyen pulled up the contract on his tablet. Section 7, Paragraph 3. In cases of political sanction affecting the contractor's home species, contracts may be terminated with 1 week notice. Resolution 447 qualifies as such a sanction. The commander's light pattern showed anger, but he could not argue with the contract. It had been written by the council's own lawyers. 7 days later, Doyen boarded a transport to Earth. The Lumith engineers took over the reactors, confident they could handle systems built by their own ancestors. The first reactor failed 2 weeks later. A cascade of small problems that Doyen would have caught and fixed became one large crisis. The Lumith engineers followed the reports he had left behind, but they discovered that the modifications made sense only if you understood human engineering principles. Doyen had been combining 3 different technological approaches in ways that no single species would have thought possible. Station Kepler-7 lost power for 6 days. 14 people died in the failure. The council sent official condolences and began investigating the incident. In the medical research facility on Thalorn Prime, Dr. Suman was packing her laboratory. She had spent 15 years there, working on cross-species disease research. Her specialty was understanding how illnesses jumped between different biological systems. She had developed vaccines that saved millions of lives across a dozen species. Her Thalorn supervisor floated into the lab, tentacles waving with agitation. "You cannot simply leave. Your research is too important." "I have sent all my data to the Council's central archive," Suman replied calmly. "Everything is properly documented." "But the data makes no sense without your analysis," the supervisor protested. "Your methods of comparison, your way of seeing patterns across different biologies, we do not understand how you do it." Suman looked at him with something like pity. "Perhaps you should have spent more time learning instead of assuming human methods were primitive." She left the next morning. The research facility tried to continue her work, but they quickly discovered that human analytical thinking was very different from their own. Where Thalorn scientists looked for elegant mathematical patterns, Suman had used intuition, backed by thousands of small observations. Where they built careful theoretical models, she had trusted controlled experimentation and practical testing. Without her, the research program stalled. 3 major vaccine developments stopped halfway to completion. The council noted the problem and began recruiting new scientists, but none could pick up where Suman had left off. The most dramatic change came in the outer reaches. For 30 years, Admiral Taeyong had commanded the defensive fleet there. The outer reaches were a buffer zone between council space and the territory of the Ravagers, a hostile species that attacked any ship or colony they encountered. The Ravagers were not sophisticated, but they were numerous and aggressive. Stopping them required constant patrols, quick response times, and careful coordination between multiple species ships. Admiral Taeyong had built a system that worked. Human ships formed the backbone of the defense, but they worked with Vrax fighters, Lumeth cruisers, and Thalorn support vessels. When the recall order came, Taeyong spent a week briefing his replacement, a Lumeth admiral named Crystallis. He showed him the patrol routes, explained the response protocols, and provided detailed information about Ravager tactics. Admiral Crystallis listened politely, but his light patterns suggested boredom. "We Lumeth have been conducting military operations for 3,000 years, Admiral. I believe we can handle some primitive raiders. These raiders destroyed 17 colonies before we stopped them," Taeyong said quietly. "Do not underestimate them." "We will manage," Crystallis replied. The human fleet withdrew in perfect formation, every ship returning to Earth space. The Council publicized the moment, showing that they could indeed operate without human military support. They were not children who needed human protection. The Lumeth fleet took up positions in the outer reaches. Admiral Crystallis organized his ships in the traditional Lumeth defensive pattern, a mathematical arrangement that looked beautiful on tactical displays. The Ravagers attacked 4 days later. They came in scattered groups from multiple directions, probing for weaknesses. This was their standard approach, one that Taeyong's forces had learned to counter over the years. The humans would respond with flexible formations, adapting to each attack and learning the enemy's patterns. The Lumeth formation did not adapt. It was designed for coordinated fleet battles, not for scattered skirmishes with unpredictable opponents. The Ravagers found the gaps in the defense and poured through. Crystallis tried to reform his ships, but the elegant mathematical patterns fell apart under the chaotic reality of combat. 4 days of fighting ended with the Lumeth fleet in retreat. 17 ships destroyed, thousands dead, 3 colonies abandoned as the Ravagers pushed into council space. The council held an emergency session. They demanded explanations. Why had the defense failed so badly? Admiral Crystallis, his crystalline body dim with shame, could only say, they did not fight the way they were supposed to fight. The council sent official messages to Earth, requesting military assistance. The messages were polite and carefully worded, avoiding any direct admission that they needed help. Ambassador Jiwon read the requests from her office in Geneva. She composed a response that was equally polite and equally careful. Earth acknowledges the Council's situation in the outer reaches. Unfortunately, Resolution 447 removed humanity from military decision-making. We would not want to overstep our place by deploying forces without proper Council authorization. We are certain the elder species will find an appropriate solution. The message was sent. No offer of help. No suggestion of what they should do. Just acknowledgement and confidence in the Council's abilities. Across Council space, the pattern repeated. Human agricultural specialists left farms and returned home. Human doctors closed their clinics. Human teachers departed schools. Human technicians abandoned their posts. Every departure was legal. Every contract ended properly. There were no violations, no broken agreements. The humans were simply going home. And slowly, the Council began to realize what that meant. 6 months after the humans left, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The grand chamber that usually projected power and confidence now felt different. Several seats sat empty. Some species had stopped sending representatives, claiming they could not afford the travel. Others sent junior officials instead of their ambassadors. High Counselor Thros floated in his tank at the center of the chamber. His tentacles moved with visible agitation, creating small currents in the water. Around him, the remaining council members looked tired and worried. Even the Vrax matriarch, who usually gleamed under the lights, appeared dull and worn. "We must address the situation," Thros began. "The human withdrawal has created complications we did not anticipate." Complications. The word felt too small for what was happening. Across council space, systems were failing. Not all at once, but steadily, like a building crumbling from the inside. The trade networks had collapsed first. Human merchants had not just been moving their own goods. They had been connecting hundreds of other species' trade routes, acting as middlemen, translators, and coordinators. Without them, the complex web of galactic commerce fell apart. Species that had never needed to talk directly to each other now found they could not agree on prices, delivery schedules, or even basic contract terms. The Vrax matriarch clicked her mandibles in frustration as she reported on the food crisis. 17 agricultural worlds are experiencing famine. The irrigation systems are failing. "How is that possible?" asked the Lumeth counselor. "Those systems have operated for decades." "Because humans maintained them," a younger counselor said quietly. Specialist Yunji and her team. They visited each world twice a year, making adjustments, teaching local farmers new techniques. "We have the technical manuals they left behind, but our people do not understand them. The farming methods use concepts that combine Vrax efficiency, Thalorn biological knowledge, and human improvisation. No single species can replicate the approach." The reports continued, each one worse than the last. The medical crisis on Vrax Prime had killed 40,000 people before they contained it. A plague that Dr. Junho could have stopped in days instead spread for 3 months. The Vrax doctors had the medicine, the equipment, the knowledge, but they did not have the specific protocols that Junho had developed for managing cross-species epidemic response. Station after station reported power problems. The fusion reactors built centuries ago were failing because no one understood how to maintain the human modifications that had kept them running. The Lumeth engineers studied the reports left by people like Doyen, but reading about a repair and understanding why it worked were different things. And the Ravagers kept pushing forward. Every week brought new reports of destroyed colonies and captured territory. The Council had assembled a joint fleet from 5 species to stop them, but coordination was a disaster. Each species' military had different communication protocols, different tactical doctrines, different ideas about command structure. For 30 years, Commander Soyon had managed the integration networks that let different species fight together effectively. She had built systems for instant translation, tactical coordination, and unified command. Without those systems, the joint fleet was just a collection of ships that happened to be in the same place. They lost 3 major battles in succession. High Counselor Thros called for reports from each species. One by one, they detailed their problems. The pattern was always the same. Systems that had worked perfectly for years were now failing. And when they investigated why, they found humans had been the ones keeping those systems working. "We must contact Earth," said the Thalorn counselor. "Request their return?" "We tried," Thros said heavily. "They respond politely to every message. They acknowledge our difficulties. They express confidence in our abilities to solve our own problems, but they do not offer help." The Vrax matriarch's voice was sharp with anger. "This is sabotage. They are punishing us. No, said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at Councillor Breketh of the Noran, one of the species that had voted against Resolution 447. This is not sabotage. Sabotage would be destroying things. The humans have destroyed nothing. They simply stopped doing things for us. That is the same thing, the matriarch insisted, is it? Breketh asked. When a child learns to walk, the parent eventually stops carrying them. Is that sabotage? Or is that teaching the child to use their own legs? The chamber fell silent. No one wanted to acknowledge what Breketh was suggesting. We are not children, the Lumith counselor said, but his voice lacked conviction. Then why can we not maintain our own stations? Breketh asked. Why can we not coordinate our own fleets? Why can we not manage our own farms? These are things the humans did, but they are not things only humans can do. Are they? More uncomfortable silence. Finally, Thros spoke again. We need to contact Ambassador Jiwan directly. Not a formal council message. A personal communication. They agreed, though several counselors looked unhappy about it. The pride of the elder species resisted the admission that they needed help, but the alternative was watching their civilization collapse around them. The communication was arranged. Jiwan's hologram appeared in the chamber, projected large enough for everyone to see. She looked the same as always, calm and professional, wearing her gray and blue uniform. Counselors, she said politely, how may I assist you? Thros began carefully. Ambassador, we acknowledge that there have been some difficulties since humanity's withdrawal from council operations. I have read the reports, Jiwan said. You have my sympathies. These are challenging times. We would like to discuss the possibility of human personnel returning to their previous positions, Thros continued. With appropriate compensation, of course. I see. And has Resolution 447 been rescinded? That is a complex political matter, the Lumith counselor interjected. It would require extensive debate and voting. Then I am afraid humanity cannot help, Jiwan said simply. Resolution 447 made the council's position clear. We are too immature to be trusted with full participation. It would be inappropriate for us to take on major responsibilities while being denied basic voting rights. Ambassador, please, Thros said. People are dying. Colonies are falling. Surely we can find some arrangement. Jiwan's expression did not change, but something in her eyes grew colder. People have been dying for months, Counselor. Where was this urgency when we were the ones doing the work? For 3 centuries, humans maintained your stations, fought your wars, healed your sick, and fed your hungry. And when we asked for respect, for equal treatment, you told us we did not know our place. The chamber was absolutely quiet now. Do you know what the worst part was? Jiwan continued. It was not the insults or the dismissals. It was the assumption that our work was worthless, that anyone could do what we did, that we were easily replaced. You never noticed how much we were doing because you never had to think about it. We acknowledge that we underestimated human contributions. Thros admitted. You did more than underestimate, Jiwan said. You insulted every human who served this council faithfully. You implied that our work was beneath notice, that we were children playing at important tasks. So we left you to handle those tasks yourselves. And now you are learning just how much work it actually was. What do you want from us, Ambassador? The Vrax matriarch demanded. Jiwan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I want you to understand. I want you to realize that civilization is not maintained by ancient lineage or assumed superiority. It is built by people who show up every day and do the work that needs doing. For 300 years, humans were those people. We held your alliance together while you took all the credit. We are willing to negotiate, Thros said. When you are ready to offer real equality, not just promises, then we can talk. Jiwan replied. Until then, I wish you luck with your difficulties. I am confident that the elder species with 3,000 years of experience will find solutions. After all, you do not need help from children. The hologram disappeared. The council members looked at each other, and for the first time they began to understand what they had lost. The message came through on Captain Minho's desk at military headquarters in Seoul. He read it twice, then called Admiral Taeyong to his office. They stood together looking at the holographic display showing the outer reaches. Red markers indicated Ravager-controlled territory. There were far too many red markers now. They have taken 12 more colonies in the last month, Taeyong said quietly. That is 47 since we left. The joint fleet? Minho asked. Destroyed. Again. This is the 4th fleet they have assembled. Each one falls apart the same way. No coordination, no unified command, each species fighting their own separate battle while the Ravagers pick them off one by one. Minho pulled up casualty reports. The numbers made him feel sick. Hundreds of thousands dead, millions displaced, all because the Council could not figure out how to make different species work together effectively. We could stop this, Taeyong said. One battle group. 2 weeks. We know how to fight the Ravagers. You want to help them, Minho said. It was not a question. I want to save lives. The people dying out there did not vote for Resolution 447. They are farmers, teachers, ordinary workers. They do not deserve to die because their leaders were arrogant. Minho understood. He felt the same pull, the same desire to help. That was the human way. See a problem, fix it. See suffering, end it. But he also understood what Ambassador Jiwon had explained to all of them. If we help now, they learn nothing, Minho said. They will think they can insult us, dismiss us, treat us like children, and we will still come running when they need us. The cycle will start again. Taeyong nodded slowly. I know, but it is hard to watch. It was hard. Every report made it harder. The medical crisis on Vrax Prime was just the beginning. Without human doctors and medical researchers, plague after plague spread through Council space. The Thaylorn had excellent medical technology, but their doctors preferred research to patient care. The Vrax had skilled surgeons, but they struggled with the biological differences between species. The Lumith understood medicine as pure science, but they lacked the practical experience of dealing with actual sick people. Dr. Junho had trained hundreds of medical students from dozens of species. He had taught them not just medicine, but how to adapt their knowledge to unfamiliar biology, how to improvise when standard treatments did not work, how to stay calm when patients were dying and resources were limited. His students tried their best, but without human mentors to guide them, they made mistakes. Simple problems became complex. Treatable conditions became fatal. The death toll climbed. The agricultural collapse was equally devastating. Specialist Yoonji read the reports from her office in New Seoul. 15 agricultural worlds were facing complete crop failure. The remaining food-producing worlds could not make up the difference. Famine spread across Council space. The problem was not that the aliens did not understand farming. The Thaylorn had been growing crops for thousands of years. The Vrax had efficient agricultural methods. But the worlds in question had been using human techniques, combinations of different approaches that maximized yield in difficult conditions. Yoonji had spent 20 years developing these methods. She had taken Vrax efficiency, added Thaylorn biological knowledge, mixed in human adaptability, and created something new, something better than any single species could achieve alone. The manual she left behind explained what to do, but not why it worked. The local farmers followed the instructions and failed because they did not understand the principles. Should we send advisors? Her assistant asked. Just to teach them the techniques? The council has not requested assistance, Yoonji said. And even if they did, why would we send our people back to worlds where they are not respected? Where their expertise is dismissed as the work of children? The assistant looked at the casualty projections. Millions will starve. Then their leaders should have thought about that before they insulted the people who were feeding them, Yoonji said. Her voice was hard, but her eyes were sad. Back in the council chamber, the situation grew more desperate. 3 member species announced they were leaving the council to form their own defensive alliance. They could not afford to stay in an organization that was falling apart. 4 more species teetered on the edge of collapse, their economies destroyed, their people starving. The Thaylorn approached humanity with a secret offer. High Counselor Thross sent a private message to Ambassador Jiwon, bypassing the official council channels. We can restore your voting rights, the message said, quietly, without a full council vote. Just return your people to essential positions. Help us stabilize the situation. We will work out the political details later. Jiwon brought the offer to Premier Yuna and the Human Assembly. They debated for 3 days. The chamber in Geneva filled with arguments. Some wanted to help immediately. Others insisted they hold firm. Premier Yuna listened to all sides, then made her decision. We decline. The council must learn this lesson properly. If we return now, saving them from the consequences of their actions, they will learn nothing except that humans will always be there to rescue them. They will respect us even less than before. But people are dying, one assembly member protested. People have always been dying, Yuna replied. For 3 centuries, humans died fighting the Council's wars, maintaining the Council's stations, protecting the Council's colonies. Did they give us equal voting rights? Did they respect our sacrifices? No. They told us we were immature children who did not understand our place. Let them face the reality of what happens when the children leave home. The decision was announced. Humanity would not return to the Council under the current terms. The message was delivered politely, diplomatically, but the answer was firm. No, the collapse accelerated. Station Kepler 7, which had survived the first reactor failure, experienced a complete power system breakdown. The station had to be evacuated. 15,000 people lost their homes, their work, everything they had built. The Vrax matriarch finally admitted publicly what everyone already knew. We cannot maintain the systems the humans built. We do not understand their methods. Every attempt to repair or replace their work fails because we do not think the way they think. It was the closest she had come to, admitting that humans might not be children after all. The medical research facility on Thalorn Prime shut down completely. Without Dr. Suman and her team, without the human approach to cross-species medical research, the work simply could not continue. 3 critical vaccine programs were abandoned halfway to completion. Diseases that could have been prevented would now kill millions. In the outer reaches, the Ravagers conquered their 50th colony. They were not even meeting serious resistance anymore. The Council forces were so disorganized, so poorly coordinated, that they barely qualified as a military presence. And through it all, humanity stayed home. Their borders were secure. Their colonies thrived. Without the burden of supporting the Council, human civilization flourished. They established new colonies, improved their technology, built stronger defenses. They proved that they did not need the Council at all. The Council, meanwhile, was learning that they had needed humanity far more than they had ever imagined. Captain Minho received regular intelligence reports showing the deteriorating situation. Each report was worse than the last. He filed them carefully, making sure every detail was recorded. Someday, when this was over, these records would show exactly what had happened. They would show what the Council had lost when they dismissed the people who had been holding their civilization together. How long before they break? His aide asked. Minho looked at the latest casualty figures. Soon, they are already broken. They just have not admitted it yet. 2 years after Resolution 447, a diplomatic shuttle approached Earth. It was not a message this time, not a hologram or a recorded transmission. It was an actual ship carrying actual representatives of the Galactic Council. High Counselor Thros himself led the delegation. The fact that he had left his homeworld for the first time in decades said everything about how desperate the situation had become. With him came representatives from the Vrax, the Lumeth, and 5 other species. No guards, no displays of power. Just tired officials on a mission they had resisted for far too long. The shuttle landed in Geneva, where the human government had agreed to receive them. No grand ceremony waited for them. No cameras or public speeches. Just a simple arrival at a diplomatic facility, the kind of ordinary meeting that happened thousands of times across human space. Ambassador Jiwan met them at the landing pad. She had been promoted to Secretary of Interstellar Affairs, but she still wore the same gray and blue uniform. Behind her stood Premier Yuna, Admiral Taeyong, and several other human officials. High Counselor Thros, Jiwan said formally. Welcome to Earth. Your journey was long. Please come inside. We have prepared quarters for you. Thros appreciated the courtesy, though he did not miss the message in Jiwan's words. Your journey was long. Yes, it had been. Not just the physical distance, but the path that had brought them here. The path of pride, arrogance, and finally, crushing realization. They gathered in a conference room that overlooked Lake Geneva. Mountains rose in the distance, snow-capped and beautiful. The room was comfortable but not luxurious. Simple furniture, basic refreshments. Nothing like the Grand Council chamber with its displays of ancient power. Thros floated in a portable tank, looking at the humans gathered around the table. They looked different than he remembered. More confident, perhaps. Or maybe they had always been this way and he had simply failed to notice. We came to talk, Thros began, not to make demands or issue statements, just to talk honestly about what has happened. We are listening, Premier Yuna said. Thros's tentacles moved slowly, a sign of careful thought in his species. 2 years ago, we passed Resolution 447. We told ourselves it was necessary. That humanity was growing too fast, acting too independently. That you needed to learn your place in the galactic order. He paused, gathering his thoughts. This was difficult for him, for all of them. The elder species did not admit mistakes easily. We were wrong, Thros said simply. Not just wrong about the resolution. Wrong about everything. Wrong about who you were. Wrong about what you were doing. Wrong about what held our civilization together. The Vrax matriarch spoke next, her voice clicking softly. For 3,000 years we believed that age meant wisdom. That because we had explored the galaxy first, we understood it better. We looked at humanity and saw children, young, impulsive, lacking in proper respect for tradition. We did not see that while we were congratulating ourselves on our ancient wisdom, you were doing all the actual work, the Lumith representative added, his crystalline body dim with shame. Premier Yuna listened carefully. Why are you telling us this? Because we need you to come back, Thros said. But more than that, because it is true. The Council is falling apart. Not because you sabotaged anything, not because you attacked us, but because you stopped holding everything together. And we never even realized you were doing it. Admiral Taeyong leaned forward. Tell me about the outer reaches. How many colonies have you lost now? 63, Thros admitted. The Ravagers control a third of what used to be Council space. We have assembled 7 joint fleets to stop them. All 7 were destroyed. We simply cannot coordinate between species the way you did. Each species fights their own way, follows their own tactics, uses their own communication systems. It is chaos, and the medical crisis, Dr. Heejin asked. The Vrax matriarch's mandibles clicked in distress. 300 million dead from diseases that your doctors could have stopped. We have the medicine. We have the equipment. We have the knowledge in our databases, but we do not have the understanding of how to apply it across different species, how to adapt when standard treatments fail, how to train others to do the same. The stations? Engineer Doyen asked. 47 have been abandoned, the Lumith representative said. We cannot maintain the systems you built. Every attempt to repair them fails because we do not understand the principles behind your modifications. You combined technologies from multiple species in ways that should not work, but somehow did. Our engineers study your manuals and still cannot figure out how you did it. And the agricultural worlds? Specialist Yunji asked quietly. Silence. Finally, Thros spoke. Famine, mass starvation. Billions suffering because we cannot grow enough food. The techniques you developed, the combinations of different species methods, we cannot replicate them. We follow your instructions exactly and still fail. The humans exchanged glances. They had known about these problems, of course. Intelligence reports had kept them informed. But hearing it directly, hearing the admission in the counselor's own words, that was different. You could have asked for help months ago, G1 said. Why wait until now? Pride, Thros said simply. We are the elder species. We built galactic civilization. We created the Council. How could we admit that we needed help from a species we had dismissed as children? How could we admit that you were better at running our own civilization than we were? But you are admitting it now, Premier Yuna observed. Because we have no choice, the Vrax matriarch said. Our people are dying. Our colonies are falling. Our entire civilization is collapsing. Pride means nothing if there is no civilization left to be proud of. Thros's tentacles moved in a gesture of deep respect. We came here to apologize. Not a political apology. Not diplomatic words that mean nothing. A real apology. We were wrong about you. We insulted your work. We dismissed your contributions. We treated you with disrespect and arrogance. We are sorry. The room was quiet. Outside the window, the sun was setting over the lake, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. What are you asking for? Ji-Wan asked finally. We want to rebuild the Council, Thros said, but not the way it was. A real alliance of equals, every species with equal voting rights. Resources contributed proportionally, not dumped on whoever is willing to do the work. Decisions made together, not imposed by elder species who think they know better. That is a good start, Admiral Taeyong said, but there is one more condition. Name it, Thros said immediately. An apology to every human who served the Council faithfully, Taeyong said. Not to the government, to the individuals, to the engineers like Doyen who kept your stations running, to the doctors like Junho who saved millions of lives. To the soldiers like Commander Soyeon who held your borders, to the specialists like Yoonji who fed your people, they gave years of their lives to the council. They worked hard, they served faithfully, and you told them they were children who did not know their place. They deserve to hear that you were wrong, Captain Minho added. They deserve to know that their work mattered, that it was not beneath notice, that they were not easily replaced. The council delegates looked at each other. It was a harder request than asking for new treaties or new trade agreements. It required real humility, real admission of fault. We will do it, Thras said, publicly, officially. A formal apology to every human who served, naming them individually if necessary. Whatever is required to make this right. Premier Yuna stood and walked to the window, looking out at the mountains. The others waited while she thought. The council must be reformed completely, she said finally. True equality for all species, transparent decision-making, fair distribution of responsibilities, and humans will no longer do for you what you can do for yourselves. We will help coordinate, we will share knowledge, we will work together, but we will not be your unseen workforce while you take credit. Agreed, Thras said immediately. Then we will consider it, Yuna said. The Human Assembly will debate and vote. If they approve, we will send advisors to help stabilize the crisis. After that, we will negotiate the new council structure. But understand this, we are not returning to the way things were. That council is dead. If we build something new, it will be as equals or not at all. That is all we ask, Thras said. The meeting continued for hours, working through details and possibilities, but the essential point had been made. The council had admitted its mistakes. The elder species had learned painfully and slowly that civilization was not maintained by ancient lineage or assumed superiority. 3 months later, the first human advisors returned to council space. Not workers this time, not subordinates doing tasks beneath the notice of elder species. Advisors who taught, guided, and gradually transferred knowledge back to the species who needed it. The new council was formally established a year after that. Every species had equal votes. Humanity held no special position, asked for no special treatment. They were simply one species among many, contributing their share and expecting others to contribute theirs. The ravagers were pushed back gradually. The famines ended as local farmers learned the techniques specialist Yoonji had developed. The plagues were contained as Thalorn doctors learned to apply Dr. Junho's methods.